The stock market is a mechanism where money flows from the less informed to the more informed.
Never invest in a company where that company is a consumer friendly company.
Investment banker versus private equity versus venture capital versus angel investor.
I started helping startup founders with their business plans, with their valuations, taking them to the right investors, and slowly, steadily, we started raising funds for them.
People are looking more at the revenue numbers than the profit numbers.
Basically, be a gold digger.
Yeah, be a gold digger.
अपने औकात वाले.
Money value is only what I make after a transaction versus value is the total thing that I get in a transaction.
We are playing the game of roulette.
What the hell is a business plan, man?
Hi, this is Devansh Lakhani, Director of Lakhani Financial Services. I am a chartered accountant, an angel investor, and investment banker by profession. In the year 2020, just before COVID hit, and late 2019, I saw a problem in the startup ecosystem, which was predominantly where founders were not being able to raise funds, where founders coming from tech background, product background, did not know the crux of how to raise funds or how to approach investors in the rightful manner. And coming from that experience, that background, I thought there is a genuine problem, there is a genuine gap in the ecosystem, because of which I started pivoting from what we were doing earlier to this particular field. And yeah, that is what we have tried to do, and that is what we try to do even today to help founders raise funds to bridge this gap between the investors and the founder community.
Devansh, lots to unpack there. Let's start with the most basic thing. You go to banks and they're like, we need to see your business plan. You go to investors, we need to see your business plan. Some people have like a one-page business plan which has a bunch of drawings on it. Some people have like a bunch of text on their business plan. What is it? What does the world want? What do banks want? What do investors want?
All right. So, in a very simple, like just a one line sentence, a business plan is a vision statement of the founder of where he is today and where he wants to take the company over the next 5 years. Right. So, this is just in a pure, simple one liner. However, if you just break it down, there are two aspects to this. Now, as a banker, like as a traditional bank, right? When you go to any bank for a loan or for working capital or something, for them, a business plan is like a 60, 70 page Word document wherein you are highlighting all the details in a textual format, right? You're putting across your business model, the promoters information, the competitor analysis, market analysis, etc. But it's completely in a textual format, which is fine for a bank. However, when you go to for equity funding, to a venture capital, to a private equity or something, or to angel investors, so on, what we do when we are taking startups to these investors, there a business plan means a 5 year financial plan over the next 5 years as to how this company is going to grow. What is the revenue model? If let's say today the company is just making money by way of one time income. For example, you just sell a product, you make money, right? You make your revenue. But now going ahead, how can you plan, how can you grow that income from just a one time income to, let's say, if you want to start a secondary stream of income, a third stream of income, right? How can you build that? So what are your revenue channels? What are your revenue models? What are your different unit economics, like customer acquisition cost, lifetime value of a customer, gross margins, contribution margin 1, contribution margin 2, your entire break-even point analysis. When will your company break even at an operational level, at a cash flow level? Today, if your team is, let's say, just 6 people as a startup, right? Where do you see yourself over the next 5 years? How do you expand that team? What will be the roles of different people in the different departments? Who will be reporting to whom? So this entire exercise is called a business plan, right? Wherein typically you have to really sit down with the founders to understand their vision. You need to ask them questions. You need to ask them like hundreds and thousands of questions from an investor's point of view. Ask them to put yourself into an investor's shoes, because tomorrow an investor is going to ask that founder all these questions to get convinced, whether I should put money or not. Okay, so you as a founder, we need to prepare himself early on. Okay, this is something that is going to come across your way. So you need to start thinking from that point of view. And it gives a complete holistic picture in the Excel sheet in numerical manner that this is something, these are the numbers, this is how I'm going to grow, these are my margins going to be, right? And at least somewhere, it won't come true to the T, it won't come true to 100%, but at least if you can achieve 80, 85% or 75% also of this, like you're very much good to go as a founder. And you can sell that story to an investor whenever you're going to pitch to him. So that is what a business plan is.
Devansh, way too much in like just a very short amount of time. So me and Vishrut, we are like dumb people. We don't understand anything. We are like kids, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds. Let's take it one step at a time. What is customer acquisition cost, lifetime value, gross margin, break even analysis, recurring revenue, one time revenue? Oof, I'm confused. So if we have a traditional business, a lot of the times, when you speak to them, they say this is all fluff. Doesn't matter. Just buy something, sell it for a profit, take the money, put it in your pocket. In Hindi, we call it a galla. Galle mein paise dalo, right? So why is the current world different from that world? Or why is the investment space different from that world? Let's start with the most basic thing, customer acquisition cost. Why is it so important?
Pehle na, what used to happen is in traditional business, there was no term like customer acquisition cost. There was no term like a lifetime value of a customer, right? What everyone used to say is कि अच्छा मतलब customer आया उसको जाने नहीं देना है कुछ ना कुछ उसको खरीदना चाहिए so he becomes our revenue like a money paying customer, right? Someone who's paying us something, not just someone who just visits the shop and goes away, because everything was offline. So there was no mode of genuinely that you can calculate a customer acquisition cost. इसलिए तभी ऐसा कोई calculation ही नहीं था. Even when you see any listed companies, let's say HUL, let's say GSK Pharma, let's say Nestle, you take any of these mammoth listed companies, whether consumer, whether B2B, whether TCS, like a IT company. So there was never a tradition to calculate these metrics like a customer acquisition cost. Why so? Because ऐसा कोई typically there was no channel where you invest a money. Let's say you put in 1 rupee and you get revenue of 2 rupees, right? Or you put in 1 rupee, you put in 100 rupees, you will get one customer if you put in 100 rupees. Who's going to pay you 200 rupees? There was no fixed channel, which started happening once the online space opened, when the digital economy opened, when digital commerce opened, e-commerce बोल लो, आप कुछ भी online sales बोल लो, when that opened, when Facebook marketing, Instagram advertisements, Google ads, these all channels opened for businesses, for online businesses. That time they understood that, okay, if I put in 100 rupees in Facebook ads, I will generate one customer. So my customer acquisition cost becomes 100 divided by 1, that is 100 rupees. All right. Now, from that 100 rupees, let's say if by spending that 100 rupee, I get that one customer, but that one customer is purchasing a product, right, worth rupees 500. So my revenue from that customer becomes 500 rupees from that one customer. Okay. Now let's say if my that same customer, he has become my customer, he is in my database now. Now let's say if I can upsell him something which is worth, let's say, 2,000 bucks. All right. And he purchases it worth 2,000 bucks. Now I have not spent anything again on that customer. Okay. He's just there in my funnel. He's my customer. He's in my database. I don't have to do anything. Maybe just send a few email marketings, messages, push notifications, stuff like that, which does not cost, to be honest, that much, which is who's already a paid customer for me. I don't have to put in that much efforts now on him, but he still purchased my 2,000 buck product. Later on, he again purchases my other 9,999, let's say 10,000 buck product. He becomes a recurring customer. Now with him, my lifetime value becomes not just 500 bucks, but 500 plus 2,000 plus 10,000. And let's say I upsell him a 1 lakh product. So my lifetime value becomes 1,12,500, right, with that same product. And my CAC was just 100 rupees. So now if I divide the two, that gives me lifetime value to the CAC ratio. But just to summarize, so CAC is just how much I spend divided by number of customers that I get. I hope that is, I've tried to get down to simple math.
I think that's a very simple way of putting it. I also think because, as you said, offline, what is affecting what, who is bringing in what, you didn't, there wasn't really this whole thing of that much advertisement. It was smaller scale businesses, it was more word of mouth. So there was not really much you were spending in terms of, oh, I've put, say, 100 rupees on a Facebook ad or 100 rupees on this ad. Now you can calculate everything because you have all the data. So that makes a massive difference.
Previously, when Shah Rukh Khan used to endorse Pepsi or Hyundai, Santro, Hyundai i10, i20, right? It used to come on television, big hoardings on highways, pan India, right? Shah Rukh Khan ka photo on with Pepsi in so many salons and barber shops across India, right? But उससे पता नहीं था कि अच्छा how many customers purchase Pepsi because of the ad, by clicking on that ad or by watching that ad, by touching that ad. No one knew that. So there was no customer acquisition cost. It was just branding and marketing expense. I gave Shah Rukh Khan as Pepsi brand 10 crores. My advertisement, hoardings, etc. Everywhere I put another 10 crore. So मेरे साल का 20 crore का as a Pepsi brand का, it was my branding and advertising cost. So it was going out there basically. So we didn't know exactly how many customers are purchasing because of this ad. It could have just been a referral. It could have been some other marketing thing. Maybe in college, students are doing some guerrilla marketing. So you never know what it was for. So that's why we didn't have CAC as a terminology earlier on. Now with digital startups, digital companies coming in, we have this metric.
Yeah, I think more than CAC as a term, you had it like, okay, yeah, this is the amount. Say I spent 5 lakh rupees on a billboard somewhere and my customer base grew by, say, 5% or 7%. You're like, okay, fine. I'm attributing the two together. You were relating something, but you didn't know whether or not they have come from there. So, I mean, it was a vaguer calculation. Whereas now with the Facebook ad or the Instagram ad or the Google ad, you know exactly who's clicked on it and if they've purchased or not. सो यू नो एग्जैक्टली किसने कहाँ क्या क्लिक किया है, कैसे लिया है, क्या किया है, वो तो 100% है. कमिंग बैक टू लाइफ टाइम वैल्यू, दैट्स अ क्वेश्चन आई वांटेड टू आस्क यू कि देखो लाइफ टाइम वैल्यू at the end of a customer's lifetime, so it's very easy saying that, okay, I have sold him, like I've sold 15 products to him worth X amount of money, so my lifetime value for that customer is the sum of all those 15 products. आप revenue ले लो, आप profit ले लो, but in terms of predicting lifetime value of a customer, how do you go about that? Let's get into this whole thing of calculating lifetime value, because this is something that I never understood.
So first of all, solving this one problem, right, which you are with what the question that you are asking is that मैं starting में बैठ के as a startup, how should I predict what will be the lifetime value of a customer vis-a-vis a company which is sitting on a 3-year-old data and 3-year-old or 5-year-old customer data, and they know what their lifetime value is. So I think 5 साल के बाद अपन देख सकते हैं in hindsight what has been the lifetime value, because you have the customer data, all the metrics are available. किसने कितना खरीदा है, when he was onboarded as first time customer, what did he do as a second purchase, third purchase, whatever, right? Now when you're sitting in your first year, in your first 6 months as a startup, you don't know what your lifetime value is going to be honest, right? It's a fact. Okay, what you can only do is, let's say if you are a SaaS company, a B2B SaaS company which is working on a subscription model, or generally subscription plans होते हैं आपके annually या 6 monthly etc. Let's say in your first 3 to 6 months you have got 100 customers in total. Now 100 customers have taken now out of 100 customers, let's assume for now hypothetically all 100 customers have taken an annual plan which is worth 10,000 rupees per annum. तो एक कस्टमर का let's assume कि वो एक साल का खरीद रहा है, that is 10,000. Okay. Now let's say that customer he has taken for 12 months, that is for 1 year plan. Okay. In your first 4 to 6 months, when you see that okay, that customer is really enjoying, he's given positive feedbacks, he's liking the version 2 also, etc. You might assume okay, majority out of those 100 customers, 80 customers have given a good review, and on asking feedback questions, they've really given positive reviews. Then you can assume that okay, out of this 10,000 bucks for 1 year, at least 80% of those 100 people will go in for the second year purchase, right? You can take your lifetime value as 10,000 into 2, which becomes 20,000 bucks. Okay. If you don't want to even multiply it by 2, you take your lifetime value of this customer as 10,000. Okay. This is little bit simple in a subscription based model. Let's say if it is just a one time sale model, then you can't really gauge what will be the lifetime value. You have to work on assumptions. You have to study your competitors. Let's say if today you are having a similar player, like you're having a player in a similar market. Okay. People on his website, let's say if he's selling multiple products from a similar industry, let's say it's a cookie brand. Okay. तो कोई हेजलनट कुकी हो गया, कोई नट क्रंची कुकी हो गया, कोई ये हो गया, कोई वो हो गया. Let's say one time your average order value, he comes and he purchases of 400 bucks. He bills of 400 bucks. Now he is just 3 months old, 2 months old. उसका पहला मतलब सारे जो कस्टमर है, all are new customers. They're purchasing for the first time. If he studies his competitor, okay, his nearest competitor who might be a 2-year-old brand, and let's say if he studies his competitor, he understands that at least if a customer likes the product, they'll purchase in a year minimum 6 times. And that customer has stuck with him for at least 2 years. Similar order value, maybe 400, 500 bucks. So what he will do is to calculate his own lifetime value, he will take, okay, the samne wala brand, one customer 400 bucks into 6 times a year, that is 2,400, into 2 years, that is 4,800. Okay, so that's a lifetime value of a similar brand, but he's comparing him with his own brand. So that's 4,800. Let's say even if he discounts it by 20%, 25%, as a startup, 3-month-old startup, you must discount it to a certain level. So let's say if I discount that 4,800 by another 30%, तो कितना आएगा? Approximately 1,400 bucks कट जाएगा, तो करीबन 2,400, 3,400 हो जाएगा. Then I can say that, okay, my startup, which is 3-month-old, I can give a lifetime value of 3,400.
So Devansh, there are two schools of thought. I want to know which school of thought you belong to. So the first school of thought is money value is only what I make after a transaction, versus value is the total thing that I get in a transaction. Simpler words, revenue versus profit, or revenue versus free cash flow. Which school of thought do you belong to?
If you ask me in from a investment point of view in an early stage startup, then I would belong to the revenue part. If you ask me a little bit in a matured company, then I would belong to the free cash flow part.
I'll add a why to it. Why?
Yes. So why? Because so I'm thinking completely from an investor's point of view. Okay, right now, when you're asking this question, when I'm looking at a startup, for me, value is more that acha ye kitna bech sakta hai. Does he have that sales ability or not? Today he might be making a loss because of many reasons. Because I'm just 6-month-old, 1-year-old, right? So I will not look at the bottom line ke free cash flow kitna hai. Yes, I will look at certain metrics like gross margin. Is it healthy? Is it at industry average? But he's making loss in the fixed cost, which is below the line, below the gross margin line, right? Maybe your people cost are high, technology bahut zyada abhi kharcha ho raha hai uske andar, so on and so forth, right? So there are certain burn cost. So as a startup investor, I will look at the revenue, how much he's being able to bring value to that. Okay, कितना वो ज़्यादा बेच पा रहा है, how many times he's being able to churn, कितना upsell कर पा रहा है, कितना cross sell कर पा रहा है, कितने, अगर it's a subscription plan, how long subscription plan is he being able to sell, 1 month का बेच पा रहा है, 6 महीने का, 1 साल का, right? On that he might make a loss initially, but that similar company, once it becomes 3 years old, 4 years old, then I'm going to see, okay, have you turned profitable? Are you generating free cash flow from your sales, or you're still selling at a loss? Then if you after 3 years also you're selling at a loss, that means भाई कुछ तो गड़बड़ है, या तो तेरे प्रोडक्ट में या तो तेरे में, या तो there is some kind of a problem which you're not being able to address and you're still making a loss. Free cash flow आ ही नहीं रहा है, you're still on every product you're losing money, or at a company level you're using money. So that's my 2 cents to
The
it.
2 plus 2 is equaling to 3, not 4.
Yeah. So that's my 2 cents to it, that at a different stage you have to adjust at that stage ke bhai acha ye stage mein, if I am looking at a profit in a 6 month old startup, then something's wrong with me. you know and if I am looking at just the revenue in a 4 year old company, then again there's something wrong with me. So थोड़ा दोनों को देखना पड़ेगा, but at different stages of that company, of that brand. So that's how I would look at it.
So देवांश, let's come back to what you do. हमने बहुत बात कर ली कि कंपनीज क्या करती हैं, बिजनेस प्लान क्या होता है, लाइफ टाइम वैल्यू क्या होता है, रेवेन्यू वर्सेस प्रॉफिट. Let's talk about what you're doing. How are you solving this problem? How did you start solving this problem? क्या किया आपने?
A lot of people don't know what an investment banker is, by the way. So people see in the movies and they think a stockbroker is an investment banker, and they think investment bankers are going around buying stocks. This is the truth. It is like the blatant truth. So if you go today, you're sitting in Bombay, go to Panipat and ask people.
Dude, you ask people in Bombay. Forget Panipat. I'm saying you ask 100 people in Bombay. Let's see how many of them give you the right answer.
So either they'll be like you are working with HDFC, or they will be like, okay, you are doing whatever is happening in the movies. So let's explain investment bank.
I think only the very much elite people who are probably working at Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Edelweiss, ये लोग को शायद पता होता है कि investment banking क्या होता है. But yeah, you are right that a normal person would not know. Even a person from finance field would not know what a typical investment banker is, right? Until unless you are working at a big investment banking.
Facts, straight facts.
साल भर पहले तक मुझे नहीं पता था.
हाँ.
I will be very, very brutally honest here that I didn't know what the fucking investment.
Yeah, I didn't know till I joined. So I did my master's in finance, and everybody wanted to be an investment banker, and then you get there and you realize, oh, I'm supposed to make PowerPoint. Let's go with what an investment banker is exactly.
I'll start with that question first. So, investment banker is, in one word, he's a salesman. Okay. So, investment banker is a person who is going to sell who's going to sell business pitches, investment ideas to investors. ठीक है. इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकर हमेशा क्लाइंट का एक एक कॉन्फिडेंट रहता है, एक भाई रहता है बेसिकली, कि यू सेल दिस फॉर मी एंड टेक दिस कमीशन, ओके, टेक दिस फीस. ऑलराइट, सो ही इज अ सेल्समैन, a person who knows how to sell, or a person who can sell, or who can learn the skills to sell, who wants to really get into sales, but not of a product, not of a service, of an entire freaking company. मुझे कंपनी बेच के आने की है, right? I need to sell the company to the investor. Okay, you invest 10 crores, take 10% of the company. I need to sell that company. So a person who wants to sell, who likes selling a company, who likes to pitch that company to investor, he is an investment banker. उसके अंदर हाँ, there are many boring tasks also, like presentation बनानी, as you rightly said, financial model बनाना, ये सारा चीज काफी boring भी रहता है. Number crunching, you have to do a lot. You have to really sit down and work on the entire modeling, create these growth charts, create presentations, create graphs, create a lot of stuff like ratio analysis हो गया. You have to create reports, पूरा report बनाना पड़ता है उसका. So ये सारी चीज करनी पड़ती है, which are after some time can get boring. But the fun part about investment banking is that you get to really meet different investors and different business owners, wherein you get to learn a lot about new business ideas, new businesses, the challenges that they are facing. उनके industry में क्या prospect है, what is the growth aspect when you are doing macro industry research, right? कौन से competition है, ये business को मैं, how can I frame it differently to this network of investors, right? For this business, to which investor should I go? Let's say if I am working on a health tech mandate or a health tech deal, I cannot take that health tech deal to an investor who wants to only invest in fintech startups or in finance field, finance businesses, right? So I have to really jot down my investor base, pitch that story differently to what I would have pitched in finance startup or fintech startup, right? So ये होता है कि investment banking and investment banker basically who needs to really work with different businesses and different investors, see कहाँ पे इन दोनों का मिलाप हो सकता है, right? It is like shadi.com 2.0, but it is more about a shadi of a founder and an investor, जहाँ पे ये दोनों को मिलाना पड़ता है कि भाई तू इसके साथ रह पूरी जिंदगी, या जहां तक रह सकता है उतने साथ रह उनके साथ, if you find it fit.
पूरी जिंदगी नहीं, जहां तक तुझे रहना है, जब तेरे पैसे बन गए तू पैसे निकाल के निकल।
हाँ, तो निकल जा, फिर डिवोर्स दे देना तू उसको, लीव दैट फाउंडर, और द फाउंडर यू लीव दैट इन्वेस्टर.
फिर तू और बड़ी पार्टी को पकड़ा के निकल जा।
हाँ, तो इट इज लाइक दैट.
Basically, be a gold digger.
या बी अ गोल्ड डिगर.
बट बी अ गोल्ड डिगर अपने औकात वाले।
हाँ. So that is what an investment banker does typically. Coming to Vishrut's question about how did I start? So it's I'll take you back. I'll take you guys back to 2019. Yeah, I think 2019 end types. So that time I was sole proprietor, one man show. And I had started with a lot of stuffs into wealth management, stock broking. I was a sub broker with angel broking and stuff like that. So काफी portfolio management, wealth management. Had done 1-2 deals in SME IPO, so have listed a company on the SME platform, stock exchange, right issue, block deals, bulk deals. ये सारे चीज I had done. But इसमें it was like a one-time thing, तो ज़्यादा I used to have fun, but it was not solving my purpose. Like it was not giving me that, thing. Though it was the thing which I loved, like finance, equity, stock markets. These all things I really loved interacting with people, and gave me a lot of soft skills. Before I went into this entire startup ecosystem and startup fundraising, right? It enhanced my soft skills quite a lot, and hard skills like presentations, modeling, etc., stuff like that. तो इसके अंदर 2019 में एंड में I started getting a lot of referrals from my friends, from my colleagues in the finance field. Okay, भाई, you are doing a IPO, you're raising funds of 10 crores, 15 crore, block deal कर रहा है. तो ये एक young company है. तब startup word was not fancy as what it is today, right? So this is, I'm talking like 5 years back now. It's like 4.5 years back.
I feel COVID put so much money into the system now after that, and Shark Tank after that.
That time it was like 2-3 ऐसा referral आया, 3-4. I understood. I thought कि अच्छा यार, they are genuinely needing my help, so let me try. So when I started working, so I understood कि भाई, they don't have a business plan. They don't have a presentation also to go to the investor. They don't know what they are going to be valued at. यार उनको पता ही नहीं है क्या करना है. They are just coming कि भाई मुझे funds चाहिए. So I'm like, bhai, there is, you have to have a process. There is a process. You cannot just go mood tha ke bhai mujhe funds chahiye. And these founders were typically from tech background, product background, B kiya hai, pata nahi C kiya hai, kya kiya hai, matlab sab engineering के fields किए हुए.
यार ये बड़ा common है कि the founders, they generally know so much about their product, they know about their app, they have no clue about the financial side of things. They're like, वो तो हो जाएगा.
तो यही चीज समझा कि there is a genuine gap, and there was not many investment bankers back then. Today also there are, but not at a what do you put the quality that we should provide. It's not yet there out there. It's not top class. और तभी तो थे भी नहीं इतने. But there were a few angel networks, but their model is different from what an investment banker does. But yeah, so then started working with them, started offering this solution one by one. ऐसा किया. We worked on business plans. We understood. I spoke with a few mentors जो startup को mentor करते थे. तभी बहुत कम थे तब, but I tried to find out. एक दो जन से मिले. My 1-2 friends were in venture capital or private equity industry. So I spoke with them कि भाई ये क्या देखते क्या हो आप लोग when you are investing in an early stage company or a tech company. They gave me few insights कि these are few metrics that you should see. ये financial model होता है, इस हिसाब से you need to really sit down with them. If you are advising them, you need to sit down with them, spend time with them, ask them questions. These are the questions that we ask. Aapka growth kya hoga? Stuff like that. So they were a little bit different from what I used to do in let's say in a SME IPO space. Because that time in SME IPO the metrics are more pat. What's a PE multiple? How much do you want to list at? Revenue पे ज़्यादा focus नहीं था. Here it was more on revenue.
I feel it's more organized. It's more organized there. They have the data already in place, and everything is a little more structured. Here, everything is just haphazard, and they are just trying to get it to organization.
वही ना, there you have a company which is at 10 who wants to go to 20, 25, 30. Here you have a company which is at 0 or 1 which wants to get to 5 or 7 or 10.
Their leap is startup mein leap is bigger. You want to take a bigger leap.
यार 1 to 10 में you're going 10 times, whereas 20 to 50 you're only going 2.5 times, or 10 to 50 you're only going 5 times. So like the scale is completely different, because again you're dealing with a much smaller thing. So because the base is smaller, how much ever you go, that multiple is higher. But Devansh, before we get further into it, another distinction which I think I am still a little confused about, and I'm sure a lot of people will be: investment banker versus private equity versus venture capital versus angel investor. अब ये चारों का क्या ब्रेकडाउन होगा?
ओके, तो चारों पहले तो थोड़े थोड़े इंटर रिलेटेड है. ओके, स्पेशली तीन जो एंजल इन्वेस्टमेंट, वीसी और प्राइवेट इक्विटी, ये सारे इंटर रिलेटेड है. मैं आई जस्ट कम टू दैट. इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकर तो आई होप you all have understood, and I hope the audience and the listeners understand it, right? That investment banker is a middleman. He's an advisor to the deal. He himself is not going to invest. Okay? Though at a personal capacity, अगर वो अच्छा है, उसको करना है तो कर सकता है. But as a company, as an investment banking, your mandate is to help that company raise funds from your network of investors. So investment banker के पास he has both the sides of the coin, head and the tail. Startup or the company and the investor. He has to have both the network, right? He has to make sure that he is being able to merge the two. So he is interrelated. Why? Because of course he has to go to these VC funds, private equity and angels, right? तो उसको ये तीनों की जरूरत है, और इन तीनों को भी है इसकी जरूरत. ऐसा नहीं है. Everyone needs each other in this ecosystem. But now these three, ये तीन ऐसे लोग हैं जो वापस they all three need each other. Why? Because they all have to give their own cap to the other person who is in the higher hierarchy, right? तो एक दूसरे को टोपी पहनानी पड़ती है, right? So let's say now first the startup goes to him, like what we call as the first round is the 3 Fs: founder, friends and family. 3 F से पहले वो पैसा उठाता है, राइट? जहाँ पे उसने छोटा मोटा डाइल्यूट किया, who are investing on the founder's face value because they trust him, they love him. मेरा भाई है, मेरा बच्चा है, whatever, so they love him. तो ये पहले 3F से पैसा उठाते हैं. Now once the 3Fs का money gets complete, okay, now I cannot invest. Now this was my capacity, मैंने डाल दिए 15-20 लाख, ये हो गया अभी तुम्हारा. Now you go to professional investors and run the show professionally. Then they go to angel investors or an angel network, right? So now out here, the ticket size ranges somewhere from, let's say, 40-50 lakhs se leke 1.52 crores, something like that. So let's say as little as $30,000-$40,000 to something, like probably $200,000, $300,000. Right? So 1.5-2 crores tak ke ticket sizes you get from angels, professional angels, angel network, right? Yahan pe angel network goes to its own network of investors, angels, who themselves individually put 5 lakhs to 2 lakhs, 10 lakhs, depending on their schemes, what angel networks are having or what their mandates are, that minimum ticket size should be 5 lakhs or 2 lakhs or 10 lakh, whatever. So then now angel network will now go to a venture capital fund in the next round. When the company requires a higher round of funding for a bigger scale, now they cannot fund now. So they will typically go to a venture capital fund who has the capacity to invest up to $1 million or $2 million or whatever the requirement is, right? This is typically called pre-series A, series A, series B, right? Now when their level extinguishes, they will go to a bigger company who are called private equity funds. Now here the company has become very much stable and it's a matured company now. Okay. Now let's say for example Motilal Oswal Private Equity Fund, Kotak Mahindra Credit Fund or a private equity fund. So these are like massive groups having like 4,000, 5,000 crore funds to invest in at a late stage. But now for the private equity fund, there for them the returns become very less because now the company is 7 8 year old 9 year old. That time they are coming to a private equity fund, राइट. तो जो भी रिटर्न सबको बनाना था उन्होंने सबने नीचे वालों ने बना दिया. दे वांट एन एग्जिट. नाउ प्राइवेट इक्विटी हैज टू इन्वेस्ट जस्ट बिफोर द आईपीओ. So 2 years, 3 years before the IPO, they will invest, but their returns will be very limited. It will not be exponential as what an angel investor would have got initially.
The other side of the game is that private equity has a little lesser risk by the time the company reaches there, क्योंकि वहां तक तो पहुंच ही गई.
So if we had to get back to the 1 to 100 matrix that we were putting all the companies in, angel investor will probably come in at when the companies are 2 or 3 and take it to about, say, I would say 10 or maybe 15.
I think angel would be at 1.
Okay, so angel comes in at 1. Between 1 to 3, I would say, okay, let's say between 1 to 3, the angel.
1 to 5 tak bhi also, yeah.
And then it takes it to about 15 or 20. And then at 20 probably is where the VC comes in and takes it to about a 35 or 40. And
yeah, maybe even it will take it to around probably a 70 because there will be multiple VC rounds also. So they would take it to 80, 75, 80. And then the last bit of juice is left for the PE, which is 80 to 100. Now 100 पहुंच गया, now it is overvalued, it is done and dusted. The company's scalability is not there. Now it will grow at a normal rate, 20%, 15% as per the nominal GDP, maybe a little bit alpha on the little bit higher than the nominal GDP of India. वो 10 साल हो चुके हैं अभी, तो 14-15% अपना GDP कितना 13-14% है, तो 13-14 से more 4-5%, 5-6% higher than that, right? So that will be a normal. That time they will give it to the public retail investors like you and me to subscribe in the IPO at a humongous valuation. And then today only I did a complete research on all these startups that got listed, and just Zomato has given 70% return in last 3 years. Cumulatively in 3 years, 70%. Baki, everyone is negative. Nykaa, Paytm, Ease My Trip.
And in fact, I think if I remember correctly, Zomato's IPO opening was not so great and it had gone quite far down, and now it's sort of come back to where it is. But bro, I think we've rubbed off on Devansh Akhil. He self-explained alpha. He said alpha and then he realized we're going to ask him what alpha is, and he self-explained it.
Hey, Devansh, there's one more game that I want to talk about, right? And I don't know if we should have like a whole separate episode on this. Maybe we will. But let's have like one liner here. How are companies like Mama Earth, Nykaa, Paytm, which one is that? Paisa Pay or something, never made a single dollar in profit, right? And they are listed companies. And they have been 10-year-old, 15-year-old establishments now. How is that a possibility? And why are people investing?
I think a lot of this has something to do over there where people are looking more at the revenue numbers than the profit numbers.
Despite the age and despite the size. So that becomes a huge question mark.
So that's why my first point, then depending on this age of this company, a public mein hai, I would look at the profitability, return on capital employed, return on equity, these all ratios, price to earning multiple as a valuation multiple, not a revenue to sales, not a market cap to sales multiple, not a valuation to sales multiple, which जो typical startups में look किया जाता है. These all startups, when they got listed after 7-8 years, 10 years of their operations, they all got listed at over 100 times PE, 500 times PE. किसी का पता नहीं, मतलब अनशन PE पे था लिस्टिंग.
PE के लिए तो E चाहिए भाई, E तो था ही नहीं, ये तो सीधा P to S था, प्राइस टू सेल.
काफी लोग का था, बट बहुत P to मतलब लॉस. So imagine somewhere like loss making PE, like negative PEs, so to say. So it was it is definitely a very क्या बोलते हैं, difficult thing that things, companies are getting listed, but then SEBI's norms have really eased down for startups to get listed, like, for these all mammoth startups to get listed. Now their norms don't cover that you have to be profitable in the last 3 years. You just have to have a positive net worth. You have to have an operation for 3 years plus. So these norms are a little bit friendly, which is good. It's not that it is bad. But then companies with a loss who are coming, वो retail investors को चिपका डालते हैं. All the merchant bankers, all these, people who are lead managers to the issue and stuff like that, they are putting everything on the retail investors and the HNIs. कि आप subscribe करो, mutual funds में ले लो माल, take the stock in the mutual fund, QIB में भरो. So these are all different aspects. Very technical I'm getting, but
Warren Buffett has a very nice sentence. He says the stock market is a mechanism where money flows from the less informed to the more informed. Like literally, I think that covers this entirety, that we are giving access of the stock market to so many people without any kind of minimum barrier to entry other than age. And then those people do not have the knowledge to utilize the stock market, and then they get trapped in it.
and they end up losing money. And there is a very interesting saying. I don't know who has said this or written this. Never invest in a company where that company is a consumer-friendly company. So never invest in a company which gives massive discounts to consumers and which is consumer-friendly. Because that company will end up losing money. And as an investor, you will not be able to win. तुम consumer के हिसाब से फायदा करो. Be a consumer of that company. Be a loyal of that brand. Be a Zomato loyal, Nykaa loyal, Delivery loyal. Be loyal to them as a brand, but not as a consumer, but not as an investor. Because that will not make you money as an investor. You will make money by saving money on your deals when you're purchasing products from that company.
Dude, I think also Abhi, since COVID and since this whole startup boom, everything, people sitting at home, people having more time, stuff, people have been getting, like, every second person is getting into the stock market now. Everyone is like, okay, what should I buy? What do you think? Koi nahi tip aayi hai kya? What are you feeling? So a lot of the conversation is on what are you feeling. I have seen a lot of people end up speaking more in India, at least, about what are you feeling rather than what have you read or what is the backing. I guess I don't know enough to comment on this, but what is your take on this?
So I had this, where I used to work earlier, there used to be a senior sir who used to come to visit my office at that point in time. When where I used to work, I worked there for 2.5 years, and I got a lot of complete fundamental knowledge about stock markets, equity, corporate finance from there, from my sir there. And another senior sir used to visit, who was his friend. And so, being a Gujarati, we are like, we used to talk sometimes with that senior sir in Guju. And markets, multiple Gujaratis are there in markets, right? So, in the stock market. Now, out here, we used to ask him, because he was a experienced campaigner in the stock market. The person who used to come to visit my sir. I used to ask him, Su levanu? In Gujarati, kya lene ka? Su levanu? He used to say, Bhagwan nu naam. मतलब भगवान का नाम लेने. So from this one statement of his, which was in a very zest manner, in a funny manner, I learned that the markets are not on the basis of Su levanu, on the basis of feeling, on the basis of gut. You have to really, वरना तो भगवान का नाम लो, क्योंकि इतना choppy होता है. और तब demonetization भी आया था, तब GST भी आया था when I was working there, 2017, 2016, and GST was there, demon was there. It was very choppy, very volatile. I think tabhi we had done the this thing, what do you call, Uri strike hua tha, and all those things had happened at that point in time, in those 2 years, right? So it was very choppy. So that time, that statement, I had learned one thing: whether it is choppy or not, you can't really go on a gut feeling. So whether you are a startup investor, a crypto investor, or a stock market investor, you can't just invest on the basis of gut, yeah, on the basis of someone giving you a tip or suggesting, right? You have to do your analysis. You have to go into the details. Okay. If you don't understand the details, at least ask someone to vet it for you and give you a report that, okay, this is what it is. This is a red flag. This is a green flag. Go for it. The ratios don't make sense, or they do make sense. The promoters are really good. They are, something that they will fight the battle come what may, right? So you have to do all those kind of fundamental analysis, and then, take a calculated risk. It's called a calculated risk or a calculated bet. You don't know where, even after your analysis, it might fail. It might not make money, but it's a calculated risk.
It's like a hand of poker. You see your cards, you see the cards that are on the table. Now you place your bet accordingly. What turns over on the river or what your opponent has, you don't know. It's a calculated risk you're taking at the end of the day.
I'll quote Buffett again. So Buffett says that most people, if they are not willing to put in the work to understand fundamental analysis, and if they are not willing to go through the effort of understanding the math behind it, then they would be better off with a low cost index fund and nothing more than that in their entire lives, right?
Absolutely. ETFs, best to do.
So Devansh, let's switch it up. Let's switch up from Devansh the investment banker to Devansh the angel investor, as you said very rightly in the beginning. I read this book by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, and the book is called Skin in the Game. The upside to investment banking is that you don't have the risk. Once the transaction goes through, you make your fees and you're out of the game. The downside of that is that you're out of the game. So the games that are going 100x and 200x, you don't have a part in that game, right? The natural transition is I was an investment banker. I am bored. Now I'll be an angel investor. Then I'll be bored and I'll become a VC. So, what's your life like an angel investor? What are some of the secret ingredients that you look for in companies? Maybe we can get you some deal flow.
Oh wow! As an angel investor, I'm not very aggressive. First of all, right? Because I am right now focused on building my business LFS into India's top investment banking firm. We want to do startup deals. Right now, we're just doing early stage. We also want to go to Series A, Series B in the couple of years coming. We also want to expand globally. We want to work with global startups, global investors, and raise funds there also. So I'm not a very aggressive angel investor. Having said that, for me, angel investing is not about taking some massive risk. I am not that kind of person who looks at ek ka 100 kaise karu, right? For me, angel investing is more, again, I will look at what kind of a business it is and what kind of a founder that person is, right? Is he willing to go all the way, all the mile, and do whatever it takes to, grow the company, to keep it safe when the time is turbulent, to keep it stable, and not just focus on growth at any cost, or kabhi difficult time aaya to wo at any cost will just go down the drain, right? But who is someone who can pivot, who can be flexible, who can pivot when the time is, not going, when the thing is not working. But if he sees an opportunity somewhere else, how quickly can he pivot, right? So these are certain things which I look at while investing. I don't even mind investing, let's say, in a manufacturing company at an angel investment level. Though I know that as an investment banker, my funds will not invest in a manufacturing company, right? But as an angel investor, I don't mind exploring that. Why? Because for me, it is something, again, as I said, I'm not in the game for 1 to 100. Itna, वो यार वो होता भी है एक 1 out of 100 लोगों के साथ या 1 out of 1000 लोगों के साथ, that 1 to 100, but still so many people die for it. Okay, let me also try. मेरा lottery लग गया तो even I can be someone like this guy, what do you call, who's the Shadi.com founder,
The Shark Tank fellow.
Shark Tank fellow. I'm forgetting his name. मुंह पे नहीं आ रहा है. But
Anupam Mittal.
Anupam Mittal. So how he got the Ola deal? He placed a bet on the founder. उसका एक का 100 नहीं, एक का 1000 हो गया, 2000 हो गया. Then Uski other portfolio companies have not done, everyone has not done that much, right? So you have to also be lucky कि वो 1 का 1,000 हो 1 का 100 हो. I don't want to play that lottery game. I'm in a game where I'll today see the fundamentals. If I like it, I will put some money, but I'm going to be very slow at it. I'll also see who's coming alongside with me because I'm not a lead. My ticket size is not that big, right? So I'm going to see, okay, who else is also partnering up with me? Can I pull in some other people, or has the founder pulled in some other people also, right? So I'm going to look at all those kind of aspects, and then I can place a particular calculated risk or a calculated bet on that company, on the founder. So that is how I typically look at my angel investing. Yes, I would like to invest more often and more capital, but I also believe that just capital will not make sense. If I just put in the capital and then I am out of the thing, I just like passive investor kind of a thing, वो थोड़ा इतना चलता नहीं है. Sometimes the founders go haywire. जैसे I had invested in one which was my first uh, investment and probably my second deal which was during a COVID. So shares मिलके इतना कुछ होता नहीं है. Afterwards the company went completely downhill because we didn't know वो लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, right? You have to have little bit of understanding about the management, what they are doing. Need to have a record of what they are doing. So वो तब मेरे को पता नहीं था. Now I know that little bit more. But 3 years, 3.5 years back, I didn't know that. So having said that, just putting the capital will not be enough. You need to have the right connection with that founder at that level where you can pick up a phone and talk to the founder, where the founder can pick up the call and he can talk to you. Okay, Devansh, do you have access to this company? Do you know someone in Kolkata who's doing this, for example? So I need to know कि अच्छा इसको मैं किस हिसाब से कनेक्ट करवा सकूँ. It can not just be अच्छा पैसा दे दिया फिर वो उसके रास्ते में मेरे रास्ते. तो वो वैसा वाला भी होता है. जो मेजॉरिटी डील्स एंजल्स की ऐसे ही चली जाती है, वेयर एंजल्स देन डोंट एंड अप मेकिंग मनी बिकॉज देन दे आर नॉट, वो कुछ पता ही नहीं है क्या हो रहा है उधर. सो that's how. So these are little bit aspects where we learn over a period of time actually.
I think badi bari us stage pe even the founder doesn't know what's happening. Like they are also
Yeah, many a times because everyone is in the race, right? Everyone is in the day-to-day operations stuck up so badly. They don't know कि क्या करना है. बड़े से बड़ी कंपनी, छोटे से छोटी कंपनी.
I think also यार angel level पे, as we said, found the company is in this 1 to 5 वाला stage. So या तो they've reached 5 or they've reached 3, 4 and they're like, अरे we know everything, हमें सिर्फ funding चाहिए, we don't want angels to be involved. Or they are in that 1, 2 stage where they've made a little bit of money but they're not sure and they want angels to be involved. तो वो बैलेंस भी समझना कि say today Devansh, you would like to be with someone who would like you to be involved. You want to be there to provide that strategic support if you can. You want to be there कि यार फोन उठा के वो आपसे बात कर लिया. A lot of people are like, ना हमें वो चाहिए ही नहीं. We only want to give you the money and we are playing the game of like we are playing roulette जहाँ हम हर जगह चिप्स लगा रहे, जो चल गया उस पे हमारे रिटर्न्स मैसिव.
या तो काफी इन्वेस्टर ये वाला भी गेम खेल रहे हैं बट उनसे मतलब इट्स जस्ट अ पैसिव इन्वेस्टमेंट. ठीक है, रिटर्न के लिए वेट करेंगे, आया तो आया, एग्जिट मिला तो मिला, मतलब नहीं मिला तो फिर गया.
खुले खेल रहे भाई.
फिर वो एग्जिट के लिए दैट इन्वेस्टर आल्सो हैज टू वर्क हार्ड. Angel investors forget that for an exit of his investment, he also needs to work hard to get that VC or that family office जो ऊपर वाला इन्वेस्टर है उसको भी उसके नेटवर्क लगाना चाहिए, नॉट जस्ट द फाउंडर. फिर फाउंडर डे टू डे धंधा करेगा कि ये सब करता रहेगा. सो समवेयर दीज इन्वेस्टर्स आल्सो नीड टू हेल्प हिम if they want to make that exit, if they want to liquidate their position. It's a collected effort. It's a small ecosystem, a collected effort. You don't know who will be ready to purchase that stake.
So angels, you should make the effort of contacting Devansh and his services in order to get the exit for your company. So Devansh, where do we find you? How do the angels find you? And what kind of deals are you doing currently? The ticket size?
So we are doing anywhere up to $1 million. not as an angel investor, but as an investment banking firm. We are doing anywhere up to $1 million deal sizes. We typically work with angels, angel networks, family offices, venture capital funds. ये सारे लोग के साथ हम काम करते हैं. We have over 300 plus this investment community investment group. So we are working with all kinds of startups also. We are sector agnostic और हम सारे startups के साथ काम करते हैं. And we are more than happy to, if you are an angel investor, happy to understand your thesis, understand आपको किस हिसाब से पैसा invest करना है. How do you want to work with startups at a much more deeper level, etc. So happy to understand that. And if you are a startup, we are happy to help you raise funds, happy to advise you in whatever capacity that we can. And to find us, not very difficult. You can find me on LinkedIn, just type Devansh Lakhani. You can find me on Instagram @CA_Devansh Lakhani. We have a website, www.lakhanifinancialservices.com. बस मतलब we on all these platforms we are available. ज़्यादा दूर नहीं है हम, just at a click of a button, and hopefully we can work with you if you're trying to find us.
और अगर ये सारे कॉन्टैक्ट डिटेल्स ना चलें तो नीचे हमारा थॉट बीस्ट्रो का ईमेल आईडी दिया हुआ है, हमें ईमेल कर दो, हम कनेक्ट कर देंगे. That is always an option. info@thethoughtbistro.com. The link is down below in the description, along with all of Devansh's contacts. You can reference that you got his contact through us, and we will happily take a little piece of your pie. So we have a tradition on the podcast where our previous guest has asked a question that has to be answered by you, and you then leave a question for the next guest. So the question is, how do you see the impact of AI in your industry, in your business? And given that, how would you advise children or students of the younger generation on what professions they should pursue as they move from high school to university?
So I think in my industry, if I were to just take investment banking, which is typically my industry, then AI, it does play a small role in terms of data mining, data analysis, because when we want to check some records, when we want to check some past funding deals, when we want to check some past data, so वहाँ पे there are many platforms who are using AI and who can provide us data in like fraction of seconds, right? But typically, like in the entire operation or overall operations, etc., AI in investment banking has not made a huge, get through, I would say, because investment banking is more or less a service oriented business. You have to have humans to talk to people to close a deal. खाली एक AI tool या robo से deal will not get closed because that deal has a lot of emotions attached of the founder, of the investor, a lot of questions, a lot of introspection to be done. So typically that deal will not get closed through a robo. Yes, they can be an enabler or a assistant like what it is today with all these data mining tools or certain platforms where you can scan the deals, right? So it has not made a huge impact on our business or our industry as such. However, AI in general in the startup ecosystem has of course made a huge impact, which is where we are a part of that ecosystem. So if you take the overall startup ecosystem, yes, AI has made a huge impact. Whether it has with ChatGPT, with making content easier, with making graphics easier, it has done all of those stuffs. However, it has not. If it has taken away some jobs, it has also given new jobs. It has given new scope of work to upcoming entrepreneurs to use AI and create their tools, create their platforms, do designing, do content writing with the help of AI tools. So yeah, I think that is what it is with AI. I think once you clear your schooling or your 12th grade or something before you start going for a master's or a postgrad or higher education, it's very important to start learning skills into artificial intelligence or coding, right? So there are three skills which I would suggest any young student passing out of college to learn before they go in for a job, or before they want to start their own business, entrepreneurship, whatever. Number one is this AI coding, tech, how to create a website, how to create an AI tool, or how to understand, analyze artificial intelligence and machine learning, so that they can extrapolate data, do data mining in a better manner. Can you take help of those AI tools to do any of their work in a faster and an efficient manner? So to understand all these things, so this is a tech skill. Second skill is about sales and negotiation. So you need to have a skill in sales and negotiation. ये कोई AI से फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. You need to have sales skills. कुछ बेचना आना चाहिए, right? As a kid, you have always been a good salesman, sales boy, or a sales girl, because whatever you wanted, from chocolate to a game, your father or your mother has got you because of your insistence, because of your sales skill. तो जब आप बड़े हो जाते हो 20 साल के, तब वो सेल्स स्किल कहाँ चला जाता है? सो यू नीड टू लर्न दैट सेल्स स्किल, नेगोशिएशन स्किल.
वो सेल्स स्किल शर्म से हट जाता है और कुछ नहीं होता.
हाँ, पर वो फिर भी गर्लफ्रेंड को पटाने में लगा रहता है. वो सेल्स स्किल तब काम आता है.
वही ना, वहाँ शर्म नहीं आती ना.
उसमें हिंदुस्तान बहुत बुरा है भाई.
हाँ.
Yeah, so three skills. And the third one is, I would say, public speaking, because it's a very important soft skill. Again, Warren Buffett had said this. In fact, when he was very young, when he had very little money, he had taken this one course, I think in Ohio itself, and it had helped him immensely to grow his entrepreneurship career, to grow Berkshire Hathaway to where it is, to give speeches. So public speaking is one such course which everyone should learn, because after COVID, so many youngsters I have seen who are impacted with not being able to speak in public, with not being able to communicate with people. They are scared of people. They want to stay in their loneliness, right? तो ये स्किल जब तक आएगा नहीं, आप रियल लाइफ वर्ल्ड में एक्सप्लोर ही नहीं कर पाओगे खुद को. All of a sudden, if you're thrown in the ocean, you'll not be able to survive. So it's better you go learning the skill. So yeah, I think these three skills before you go into the real life world.
Devansh, what about your question?
My question